A tale that I want to tell for Black History Month comes from the book Medical Apartheid by Harriet A. Washington. This comes during the era of separate but equal. And in Miami, Florida, the state built a spacious, modern 466 unit addition to a sprawling 1946 housing complex in the summer of 1951. This pristine symbol of hope was named Carver Village after Dr. George Washington Carver. So, this most impressive new minority housing development in the nation was quickly eclipsed by violence. The Carver village amounted to a desegregation of a larger housing complex, and this precipitated Klan organizing drives in Miami, white motorcades accompanied by rock throwing and shooting of a black man on September 22nd, 100-pound boxes of dynamite blasted an untenanted building at the complex. In October, three bombs tore through Jewish schools and synagogues in the city. So it's just a whole lot going on in the 1950s in Miami. So, along with the racial violence going on, the U.S. Army and the CIA, like the Klan, had Carver Village in their sights. Despite U.S. insistence that it was only developing defensive biological weapons, the CIA in 1952 entered into a partnership to produce chemical and biological weapons with first strike capability. The Army's Special Operations Division laboratories at Fort Detrick, Maryland, served as a site of the Joint Army CIA program dubbed MK Naomi. So, Fort Detrick's Army Chemical Corporation laboratory bred more than 4 million mosquitoes per day and released them in hordes around Florida, including near Carver Village. This was an experiment to determine whether these droning syringes on wings, disease vectors in medical parlance, could be used as first strike biological weapons to spread yellow fever and other infectious diseases, ostensibly among foreign troops during wartime. So they were using this housing complex as a weapon tester. By 1960, Carver Village residents had been plagued by a series of mysterious illnesses and deaths. So, a resident named Dorothy Pelote, a former president of the Carver Heights Mission Improvement Organization, recalls that in 1955, young white men came to our house and talked with me and my husband. They said they were doing a study on mosquitoes and wanted to place a trap in our backyard. Later, when people started getting sick and dying, I spoke with several people who recalled those boxes being placed in their backyards. After the study, they came back and got those boxes from our backyard. Part two is coming. In 1979, Pelote also told Atlanta Journal that between April and November of 1956, the Army conducted a survey of residents to determine how many had been bitten by mosquitoes, but nothing was revealed to us until the 80s. I couldn't believe it, but those people used us as guinea pigs. After the story broke in the 1980s, victims came forward, but the news accounts tended to not name names. In 1956, for example, one unnamed black woman had fainted after after a thick cloud of mosquitoes quickly covered her body and she had to be taken to the hospital. The phrase human guinea pigs is frequently a prelude to hyperbole, but Dorothy Pelote sounds far too businesslike to be a conspiracy theorist. Her speech is crisp, and her responses are unfailingly concise and on point, and even impatient as she recalls events of half a century ago without hesitation or ambiguity. But then she has relived those events often. In the 1960s, she organized the residents in an attempt to understand the mosquito experiments 20 years before evidence of their true nature surfaced. The spikes in local disease and deaths convinced the Army CIA consortium that the infected mosquitoes would indeed make an effective biological weapon against the Soviets who had no medical capability for vaccines for their nation's program. So, after testing the mosquitoes on Black people, yes, they could use this as a weapon against the bad guys over in the Soviet Union. Isn't that great? Obviously, this is the CIA and the Army. Is not like they're going to come out and admit that they used Black people to test a biological weapon. But like I said, this story can be found in Medical Apartheid by Harriet A. Washington. All right, you guys like, comment, share. Tell me what you think.